The grip is the first one, the unit turn, the loading, the acceleration, the contact point, the follow through, and the finish. I will break down the forehand for beginner, intermediate, and advanced players. So I will have 6 stages or 6 focus points on the forehand, which will be the grip is the first one, the unit turn, the loading, the acceleration, the contact point, the follow through, and the finish. So it's a lot of points to go through, and for each point I will demonstrate how it should look like, and I will give you some tips on how to improve those certain areas. And the best way, guys, to support the channel, please subscribe and turn the notification button on. The best way to get the newest info would really... All right, let's start with the grip. So if you have a beginner player, there's several ways to show them how to hit a forehand grip. I personally like to go and start them off with the Eastern grip, which is the index knuckle right here, the index knuckle on bevel number 3. So that's how I like to start off the player. You have several ways how to start them off, right? So you can drop the racket like this and tell your player to pick it up. So the index knuckle will be again kind of on bevel number 3. So there are different ways to show your students or players how to hold the racket. You know, the players will slightly grip over to maybe a semi-western to bevel number 4 with the index knuckle at some point, right? So you just have to see how well does it work, and do I have to change it again. But for the beginner, I like to see them with the strong Eastern grip that goes a little bit towards the semi-western, but it's still an Eastern grip. Right knuckle right here, and that's a solid grip, because when you're at contact, you can manipulate the ball better than if you have a semi-western or a western. You feel like you stretch here, and then you have to roll more, and especially for beginner players, since they muscle everything, and the beginner players are like trying to use all their force, and they don't know and didn't learn yet how to be relaxed, that might hurt them actually. So that's why I like to start with the strong Eastern grip when I teach the forehand. Appreciate it. We are at checkpoint number 2, which is the turn. This is a very important point for a tennis player. So you rarely see a Novak or Rafa or anyone late on their shots, and that's because they split and turn very fast. So they see where the ball goes, and they split, they see it's coming to the forehand, and they're already here. So that is key. So an early turn will help you to not be late on the ball. The next thing, the non-dominant arm on the unit turn or on the shoulder turn, I like to say always to the players, form an L with your hand, put it here on the racket, heart or throat, and the left hand manipulates the racket like this and adjusts the racket on the take back, and it stays on until you feel the pre-stretch in the back muscles in the upper part. So you split, you turn, and while you turn, your left hand gets the racket in this position. So a couple of points to have in mind now when you are up here. So the racket is around head level right here. I always say the strings point to the crowd. That's a visual like players like to have, and see how long I'm here with my left hand, right? So racket is up, strings point to the crowd. And it's very important that the players get used to that very early, because the pre-stretch here, this pre-stretch, gonna make it so much easier later on the release, and getting them used to early, instead of what happens a lot of time when the players take the racket, they take the racket back, right? But they take the racket back, but there's no rotation in the upper body. And how you can show your players how to rotate in the upper body is, easy way, I let the players have the racket and the arms out, and I just let them rotate against the lower body on both sides. Here we go. See how flexible you are? And that's how they actually feel for the first time right here. what it means to, and then on the progression, you have them turn like this here, right? So, but the first thing is having them here, rotating against the legs and the lower body. That's going to make them understand, oh, here's something happening, here's a pre-stretch. And another important point of the shoulder turn is, it all starts at the beginning, right? So what we see so many times that the players have the elbows so close to the body. So in that shoulder turn, have the racket out and in front at the beginning. I always say air it out a little bit here, have the racket here, and make them understand now, once you did all this here, that they start out here, and now when they rotate and stay on the right side here, and the strings point to the crowd, they have spacing here, because you want to later on pull from here, right? They want to pull from here. So they do not want to internal rotation here. They want to stay out here and they want to pull. So that is so important. The beginning determines already how this is going to look like. And another tip, if that doesn't work well and they fall back into the old pattern, what they can do is they split and let the elbow go a little bit up so they can't go too far over there. So that's another way how to fix it. So they turn and the elbow goes a little bit up, palms down, like the strings point a little bit down and to the side, and then they step in and pull from the right side. So that's another great way how you can have the players keep everything on the right hand side and not on the outside, and not having them pull the racket too far around the body. So the two ways we said is the arms out from the beginning, and if that doesn't help on the rotation, then you let them get the elbow a little bit up so they do not turn too far around. So that was the turn. So the next point is the loading. So we had the grip, we had the preparation and the unit turn. So now we have to load. So in terms of the legs, the big muscles run the show. In any sport, the big muscles first. So you need to push into the ground, you need to use your legs to get energy going into kinetic energy. You store the energy first and you load. It's very important that you know you load your legs, you bend them about 20%. So that's kind of a number, might have changed a little bit, but around that area, and that gives you the best storing energy for all the muscles, for all the energy. So you load on around 20% and then you explode. Very important to know, because if you load too much, you're not going to come out. I always have the analogy to a basketball player. If you want to dunk and you're going to go down here and you want to get up, you're not going to get very high, right? So it's all about the 20% round, and then how quickly you use the hip snap and explode out of the legs when you hit the shot to get the power, right? So the more able you are to release all the energy quickly from the hip, from the ground to the hip, and then in the kinetic chain, you're going to hit a faster shot. So speaking about the loading, so we split, we turn, we set the foot, we have a good weight on the back leg here. So now what happens is, if you explode from the back leg, the racket drops into the leg position. So that's one thing that's going to happen. You're out here and you're going to explode and it drops here. So that phase looks different according to the players. Different players, looks a little bit different, but they all have one thing in common. When they're here, they kind of go, you have to go below the ball, right? So some players, like the Potro, get the racket a little bit further back here. Fed, when he's here, goes straight down here. And then we come to the acceleration phase, which is the next step in the video. And that's the next video I'm going to shoot for you guys. Now we're coming to the acceleration phase, which is this topic of this video, the number 4 out of 7. So in the acceleration phase, as we learned, we were loading a little bit back leg, we were snapped the hip in there, racket fell into the leg position. So in this acceleration phase now is, make sure when you go and hit that ball, you go up on that ball a little bit and let the arm go out. That's why we were at the beginning out here. So you drop the racket here, get into the leg position when the hip snap in, and now when you get out, let the racket go out. What I always say to my players is, when they're in this leg position and go to the acceleration, let the racket head feel like there's 20 pounds of, not 20, but like 5, 2, 3, 4 pounds of weight in there. Once you keep that weight going there, here, let the racket head lead. Let the racket head, when you accelerate forward, let the racket head lead and get the arm out, because like you need to let the arm go forward and up. And then the important part is in the acceleration phase. Once you step the hip in, you're here, you go out, keep the left arm level with your shoulder. And what I tell my players always when you look this way, it feels like you have magic power with your left hand. When you're here and you go forward, it's like you pull that left arm in here to get more power and control. At the same time, you're gonna have more balance. So you pull the left arm back, you keep it level, and you go out on the acceleration. So very important that non-dominant arm, keep it level, keep it balanced, and think about you have some weight on the top of the racket and it pulls you out when you hit it. So when you're here, leg position, and then it pulls you out there, extend your arm through the shot. So next video we're gonna have is the contact point. So in this video we talk about the contact point. So ideally on the forehand, when you hit the ball, you want to have the contact point right, maybe a little bit in front of the front foot, in front of your toes. So right there, but that varies as well on the grip. So if you have a Western grip, right, you might have your contact a little bit closer to you because you're going to have a little bit more angular momentum, right? So when you have a more extreme grip, and let's say you're out here, you're going to use your lower body a little bit more, and you're going to hit the ball, extend a little bit, and then go around. But what's going to happen is, for sure, with that more extreme grip, your contact will be a little bit closer, right? So you go to an Eastern grip, your contact will be more in front of you. So, and then you can manipulate the ball really nice with the Eastern, or with a weak semi-Western or strong Eastern, right? You do very good here. With the Western, it's going to be a little bit harder to manipulate the ball really good because your contact is going to be a little bit closer to you. And then, since we talk about contact point on the forehand, mentioning the slice. So in the slice, you contact, I always tell the players, you contact, think about the belly button almost to be the contact. That's the one shot you can contact the ball a little bit closer to you because your elbow has a stable position here and you can slice it nicely and control it. What a lot of players do wrong when they slice is their contact is way in front of them, and you see them, they hit the ball in the net on both sides. One very common mistake. So when you hit the ball and you slice it a little bit closer to your body, semi-Western is going to be semi-Western, or let's say a strong semi-Western or Western, going to be closer to your body as well. But if you have an Eastern or strong Eastern or a weak semi-Western, you're going to be more in front with the contact point. Finish all the series up on the forehand. So the follow through is very important. So when you contact the ball, so it does not matter if you have a Western grip, a semi-Western, an Eastern, you always see the players after they contact, they go out a little bit, right? So you then hit and they go out. It's a myth that if you have a Western or a semi-Western and you're here, that you pull straight over. I still see that very often. It's taught. They hit the ball, the player, and then they go straight here. And I'm asking myself, where is the linear momentum? And they cannot penetrate the ball, so it's all going to be angular momentum. There's nothing coming out of it. So it doesn't matter which grip you have. If you have a player with extreme, like let's say with the Western or very strong semi-Western, so even them, when they hit, they follow through. Here's the contact. There is always follow through, and then they roll a little bit more maybe than a guy that has an Eastern or a weak semi-Western. When they contact, they can go out longer and then they finish. And the finishes look all different according to the different situations you're going to have when you play. So you have to know all three different finishes, which I'm going to talk about in this next video that's coming up right now. Hey guys, This is the last part of the forehand series. We're talking about the finish now. So the finish depends on what you do, what shot you want to hit, right? So let's say you're in a situation, you're running out here and someone is running to the net and you want to hit the ball right to the legs, right? So when you're here, you want to most likely go out here and roll it a little bit more like this. So it comes like this. So you finish pockets. So you go from pocket to pocket, right? If you are in a situation where you just want to penetrate the ball a little bit more, right? So you want to hit the ball a little bit harder, you have a little bit more time, you might go from here, you hit it and you follow through and you finish around shoulder level. So you have a nice follow through. So you hear the swoosh. And then you have situations where someone comes to the net and you want to allow them, right? So you're out here and then your finish might look something like this, or it looks like this. So, and you finish like Rafa up there, or like Novak does it a lot when they lob, right? So you run out and you go like this. So the finish, it doesn't matter so much what grip you actually have. So even with the semi-western, same scenarios, if you want to hit it to the feet, you roll more. If you lob, you go more up, and it's the same with the grip. So you should know all grips the same. You should know all the shots you want to hit. What I wanted to say is, you should know all the finishes. It doesn't matter if it's a high finish, if it's a finish around shoulder level. And you know Murray, when he hits, sometimes he goes and then they hit that back almost here. Or if the follow through and the finish is a pocket for heavy topspin ball to the feet of a player that runs to the net. So you should all have all the finishes in your arsenal. And yeah, that was the last video of that forehand 7 stages, what I picked for you as a checkpoint. I hope that helps a little bit. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me, subscribe to us, and click the notification buttons on. This was Davor from Tennis House, guys. Thank you.